we are going over the auth parser problem. I've just built here a little skeleton so we can start writing out our pseudocode. And so this problem has us taking this sample file. This looks like it's a Minecraft web server Minecraft server file. And we're trying to pull out all of the IP addresses in there and print out a nice little chart for us. Right, so we could sort them by IP address and count. Okay, cool, sounds good. So we're writing our pseudocode now. And the first thing we need to do is what? I think we already started this together, so get me started.
Take arguments from the command line.
Love it. Oops, not writing in the right, I was writing in the wrong thing. Take args from command line. Okay, sounds good to me. I'm gonna leave some space here so we could do it. All right, what do we do? Got our file name.
Open the file.
Okay, read the file, and what do we want to do with the file? How would you do it if you had to manually do it, right? Like I think the easiest way to think of how to write code is if do it manually, then what did you have to do? So if I told you to manually look through this, what would you be doing? I've opened up the file. What do I do?
Go through each line.
Yeah, exactly. Go through each line. I want to hear that. I want to hear that. Right. Let's see. For each line, we're gonna, right? That's going to represent that we're going to be doing some kind of loop. What do I do with each line? Tell me in English. I don't want code.
Check to see if there's an IP in each line.
Okay. Okay. What do you want me to do with it?
If the IP is unique, add it to a dictionary.
Okay. So if I'm looking at each line, I'm going to say just extract IP address from line. Okay, cool. I extract the IP address from the line. What do you want me to do with the IP addresses? So for example, I'm going to open
do you want to extract the IP address from every line necessarily?
Well, if I'm reading it, it says he wants to see all valid IP addresses in that log file.
Okay.
So let's say I'm looking at the log file.
Are we going to be using regex for this again?
Yep.
Wonderful.
Wunderbar, right? That's all right. I got it. We'll get it easy. CD into, where am I here? Python and head auth1, right? Okay, so let's see. I'm looking through the first line. I'm looking. I don't see it. Oh, do none of these have IP addresses? Let's do tail maybe. Come on, luck. All right, cool. That's fine. I see an IP address there. Right, so we're telling the computer, look through these lines to find a pattern, doesn't see it. Looks through these lines to find a pattern. All right, we find this pattern right here. I'm going to take it and put it into some kind of data structure. Someone told me a dictionary. We could also use a list. Okay. Okay, so I've extracted them from this particular line, right? So let's say I have this IP address. What do you want me to do with it? I'm holding on to it. And thinks that's funny. It's Friday. He thinks just holding on to an IP address is hilarious. The DHCP server let me hold on to it. Right? I'm imagining right now that you've told me to go through each of these lines. I'm looking through each line. I find an IP address. What do you want to do with it?
Wouldn't you put it in a list?
All right.
Or
So I've extracted it from the list.
Dictionary.
add to. Okay, so now we have two possible approaches for this. You can either add it to a list, can add to a dictionary. Two different ways. If we add it to a list, we can count all of them, or we could loop through the list, and then that'll give us the total number. And then we can add them to a dictionary. That's one thing we could do. Or we could add them to a dictionary right away. It's up to you guys. What do you want to do? I'll go either way right now. I don't care.
List into dictionary is probably easier.
Okay. Okay. So we'll extract address from the line and put into a list. How about that? And place in a list. And then once we're done with that one, we'll say for add IP address list to the total IP address list, if that makes sense. Right? Because imagine, right, there's going to be IP addresses in a list per line, and then IP addresses in a list for the entire thing. If that makes sense. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. So let's talk a little bit more. We've added them to a total list. Let's say 5. Okay, I have all of the IP addresses in one list now. What do you want to do?
Go through the list and add them into a dict.
Okay. Go through total list, map list to a dictionary of counts. Right. We've solved this problem before. What else do we need to do? I guess that's about it, right? Once we have the dictionary,
I
think
format it after that.
I think it's formatting. All right, here's where the magic comes now. The part where I told you, like, we're gonna write some code with code we don't have yet. Okay. Here's how you start to take your pseudocode and break it down once you have this. So take args from the command line. We can already do that, right? We could just say file name equals sys.argv1.
You're missing
right?
something.
I know. Missing the import sys.
My friend lately has been being very vehement about me specifically using the argument parser and not import sys, and it's annoying.
Oh.
Apparently, he claims argument parser is objectively better in every way, and I tend to agree with him because he's better than me at coding, but it's still annoying.
I mean, that's fine. I love when people are super opinionated on things that end up doing the same thing anyway.
I love it. He can go on rants. And for something as minor as sys versus an argument parser, it's.
I mean, we got tabs and spaces here too. So here, so I'll just put a little comment here. Assume this is a plain text file. Okay. All right, cool. We did that first part. That's nothing bananas yet. You're just like, Matt, come on. This is nothing crazy. One thing I'll say we didn't do here was create that big list that's going to hold all of the IPs. So I'm just going to add that here. I'm going to say, I'll make it nice. 1.1. Create empty list for the total IP addresses. Okay, so I'll do that there. Total, I'll say IP list. IP underscore list equals an empty list. Okay, still nothing super bananas yet. Let's continue. All right. Reading the file and looking through each of the lines. Again, nothing super bananas yet. Right, we have with open file name as I'll use F for file, and then for line in F. Okay, again, nothing bananas yet. Right, that is, I'm just taking what we worked on together.
Matt,
Here's
don't you have to put an R after file name to read it?
I think this should be fine. We could put the what you mean, the comma. So I only read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that if you want. I think this works either way, but let's say explicitly that we're only going to read the file. Okay, cool.
I think if you don't put the R in, you have to do like f.read.
How's that it? Okay, good. Thanks for keeping me on my toes here. All right. So here's where I'm going to tell you that we're going to start to write code with code we don't have. Extract IP addresses from the line and place in the list. Wouldn't it be great if I already had a function that could take in a line of like a line of text and just give you back a list of IP addresses? Let's pretend we have one. IP addresses equals extract IPs and give it the line. Okay. I don't have this function called extract IPs yet, but I know I have to write it. And what is extract IPs going to do? It's going to take in a line of a file and it's going to return a list of the IP addresses that are already in it, right? I'm going to take my problem and break it up into smaller bite-sized chunks. Okay. All right, cool. Let's pretend that this works and just keep going. Okay. So I've taken all of my IP addresses per the line, and my next step says, oh, this should be untabbed. Okay, I've got them on the line. Now I need to add them to the total IP list. So let's say IP list.extend IP addresses. Now I use extend here because I have two lists and I want to combine them into one list. Does that make sense? Tell me if it doesn't right now. I'll straight up go through a demo of two lists. Okay, Plusha's like thumbs up. I got that. Cool, love it. All right, so we're making the mega list of all of the IP addresses now. Okay, and let's see, go through total list, map list to dictionary of counts. Can do that too. I'm gonna again pretend I have some code that'll do this for me. Maybe I'll just get the IP totals first. Yeah, no, let's do that. Let's do that. IP dictionary equals, let's call it count IP addresses with IP list. Okay. Cool. So now we have written some pseudocode and we've now been able to decide what functions do we actually have to write to get this to work. Right? We've kind of split this up into smaller pieces now. I know I need to write a function called extract IPs. What does that function do? It takes in a line and it gives you a list of IP addresses. That's one step I have to make. I also know I have a function called count IP addresses. What does it do? It takes in a list of IP addresses and returns to a dictionary with the IP as the key and the count as the value. So we've split up our problem into a smaller problem. Let's go ahead and to kind of finish this out, I'll say number 6 is, this should go at the end. Actually, this should go outside of here. This is not inside the loop. Oops. This should go outside of that loop. Okay. Looks like we're done. Once we're done. Okay, looks good. Looks good so far. Looks good so far. Let's just print. Oops, I don't want to print. Yeah, print the dictionary.
Matt, are you gonna post this in Slack after you're done?
Yeah, in fact, I could put it in the our repo if we end up finishing it. It's almost, we should have enough time. Print the dictionary. So I'm just going to say print IP dictionary. All right. Very good. Very good. We have some kind of skeleton. Do we have any questions so far on this skeleton that we've made together? People shaking their heads. I like that. Tell me. Go ahead, ask. There's no problems. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to go up here to the top. And now I have my main function done. I have to write my helper functions. These are the functions that are going to help main do its job. Okay. So the first one I had was, what is it called? I called it extract IPs. So let's define it. Extract underscore IPs. And it takes in a line. This is just what I'm going to call it. Okay. So how can we solve this mini problem now? Imagine, right? Let's say, imagine we only have this one line, right? This is, I apologize that I can't just, here, this is what I'll do. Copy, clear, paste. Okay. Imagine I just have this one line. That's what's coming into the function. What needs to come out of the function is a list with just the IP address in there. So how can we do this? How can we write this code? Let's just write pseudocode. Can anyone give me some pseudocode?
You could create a regex for IPs
Mm-hmm. And
then use that regex to identify the IP specifically and cut it out.
exactly, right? So let's see. Right, what do we want to do? Do something with the line to get IP addresses. Right, that's our problem. So how are we going to do it? Right, we're looking for a pattern. So we're going to use the pattern matching tool, regex or regex. So we use regex to match full IP address. And so I had given you one. We're going to import regex, import RE. And I had this in chat. I think this was the one I gave you. Here we'll say IP regex equals. Does anyone have the one I gave you guys in chat yesterday? Real quick.
I have a one. I'm not sure if it's I don't think it's the same one though.
All right, just put it in Slack and I'll use that one. Most of them should work. Appreciate it.
That's weird. These things are not copying properly.
That's okay. I'll find one.
Matt, I put one on chat.
Oh, you got one? All right, cool.
It's on chat.
There we go. All right, Bo's got one. That's fine. All right, copy. And
There we go. I posted it.
so the other thing is if we're using a library and we're not super familiar with it, check it out, RE Python docs, right? Let's have that open as well, just so you can see syntax, right? Regular expression examples. I always like looking for examples. Let's see. Is there a quick, easy? So it's showing you the different, like how regex actually works. We're going to let's see. No. I want an actual example here. Here, regular expression syntax. Oh, no, those are what the actual regexes are. Regular expression objects. No, I don't want the objects. I want literally munging. That's a weird word. All right, we'll go through examples and see if I find one that looks like what I want. I'm just looking on another screen here. Looks like this RE compile. You give it R and a string. Okay, let's try it. Regex re.compile. Give it an R and then a string. And I'm going to use this one actually. Copy. Paste. Okay. And close. Okay, I think that's good. So that'll be our regex. Okay, and now how do we find it? I think it's find all. Let's just control find. There it is. Okay, so what does this do? Return the non-overlapping matches of pattern in a string. So it should give me every pattern that matches my regular expression. And the way you use this is re.findAll. You give it what pattern you're looking for and what string you're looking for it in. And then it'll give you back a give it back to you. So let's say as a list, excuse me. So we'll say IP addresses on the line equals regular expression dot find all IP regex. That's our pattern. Line is the line we're looking at. Okay. And what do we want to do with it? Return IP addresses. EDDRES. Okay. So 3 lines, not so bad. What are we doing? We're taking in a line. We're generating this regular expression object, right? This pattern. If we want to look through it, again, it's characters 0 through 9, 1 to 3 of them with a period. Characters 0 through 9, 1 to 3 with them and a period. Same thing there. This is not the most complicated regular expression for IP address lookup, right? Because there are some patterns that will match this that are not IP addresses, right? IP addresses only go 0255.
Yeah, the one I use, or 2 I use technically, I think is specifically to avoid that sort of thing.
Yeah, I gotta find that one. That one's a little bit better.
Should you rename IP
I put it in
address
the
to something?
Slack.
Should you rename IP address to something different? Because it's also under the. I know that like it won't read it the same because it's under define main and define extract IPs. But would it be smart to rename it just for the sake of clarity?
So you're asking a very good question here, and because you're right, we have these somewhat different variables that are having like a same name. I will say whatever makes the most sense to you is okay. I'm going to call them IP addresses because I like to be explicit with my names. And even though, yes, it's IP addresses here and it's in another function as well, I am okay with it. If you guys feel uncomfortable with it, I could change these names though, and we could try and make it a little bit more explicit. But I think that this is okay. Okay, so this first function, all it does, right? We can test it. We could go out and test it in the wild first, but it should just return a list of IP addresses. Okay, there's one more function that I want to write, which was, what did we call it? Count IP addresses. And what does it take? It takes in an IP list and it returns the IP dictionary. Okay. So I'm just going to paste that there just so we have the right name. And again, what did we say it's taking in? Taking an IP list. Oops. IP underscore list. Okay, cool. So let's write some pseudocode for how this will work. This is a similar problem. I promise you guys have done this one in maybe not foundations, but definitely in essentials. Like I think we've given you almost exactly this problem before, but now you see it's just one chunk of a bigger problem. So I've given you an IP list. How can we create a dictionary where the keys are the IP addresses and the values are integers that equal the count?
Got to loop through it.
Okay, so we're going to loop through the IP list. That's one thing we got to do for sure. What else?
I'm trying not to talk too much.
So I'll tell you that this this scenario right here, looping through a list, putting those items into some kind of data structure like a dictionary, so you could do other things with them, is a very common paradigm. So if we Google, there's a pretty easy way to do it. I'm going to put a link here. I know I've shown you guys this before, but I think we need to see again. There's the Python get method. I'm going to use that. I'm going to loop through my dictionary. I'm going to try and get the IP in my, I'm going to loop through the IP list. I'm going to take each of the IPs, add them to the dictionary. If they are not in the dictionary, I'm going to make the value equal to 1. If they are already in the dictionary, I will make the value equal to whatever it is plus 1. If that makes sense, right? So that way we're counting them. So before we loop through the list, we have to make an empty dictionary of the counts. Right, so we could do that. We could say IP counts equals dictionary. Okay, we can loop through the list just like you said. For IP in IP underscore list. Wow, I should be much more consistent with my capitals and not capitals. Don't be like me. For IP in IP list, we're going to say IP counts at the IP. Right, again, this is look in the dictionary, grab that the item that's there. Oops, equals IP counts dot get IP. If it's not there, start at 1. Otherwise, plus 1.
The IP you have listed in the for loop is capital, and then the IP you have as the index is lowercase.
Good catch. See what I literally just said my. Okay, that's better. Let's just be all lowercase. Okay, that looks okay. And then we return the IP counts. Okay. Cool. I think we have maybe something that we can test now. We wrote a lot of code. I usually don't like writing so much before testing, but I think we have something that we could test at least.
I was always taught when you write any function at all, you should make a test for that specific function and then test it individually.
Yeah, I'm being a little naughty here by just moving ahead, but that's okay. You could see what it's like when we're doing some live coding and live debugging here. So I think that that's always fun too. Okay, let's make this executable. What do I call it? Auth underscore parser. And let's watch this thing fail. All right, very good. Def main invalid syntax. Oh, I see.
You forgot something important.
What did I? Yep, there it is. So again, just so that we're all, I don't want to like solve them really fast. I want to make sure you see every bug too, because you will all write them yourselves. I promise you. The only reason I'm faster at solving bugs is because I've seen them many more times. I've written them more times than you've made them. So here is my problem. It's saying invalid syntax. Here I'm defining a function. I forgot my colon at the end. Cool. Let's go through. Let's find the next mistake I've made. Oops. Insert colon, escape WQ. Run it again. Oh my God. Honestly, guys, I didn't expect it to work this well, like the first time.
It looks like there's still a bug because those aren't the right counts.
They're not the right counts. Okay, let's take a
Or
look
at
at
least
my.
they're not the same. They're not the same counts as the output on the full stack.
Okay. Well, at the very least, I'm very happy that I don't have any errors right yet. Okay, so let's see. Can we quickly see what differences we have? Am I like off by 1 on things, or?
Yeah, it looks like you're off by 1. Like you have a 482 and there's a 481 on full stack. You have a 71. There's only a 70 on full stack.
Okay, I'm guessing it's this where I'm off by 1. Instead of starting at 1, start at 0. Let's try that. Run it again, clear and run it again. 71. Let's double check. 87, 27, 92, 12. 87. Uh-oh. Is that not even on there?
You just highlighted.
But I thought it was 80, 87. Oh, 87, 27, 92, 12. Oh, sorry. 87. It's Friday. Okay, 70. 70. Oh, not bad. Okay, let's look through this code again, or we could start writing code to kind of make it formatted all right. But if you're able to follow me with this part, that's the bulk of it, right? If you're able to write code enough to get to somewhere close to here, you are good enough for like a, an entry level Google security engineer type of role, right? This is the type of thing that they would be doing, writing a little bit of code to kind of either parse files, make a couple tools fit together, stuff like that. I'm going to put the code up here again and ask if anybody has any questions about it, or if they want me to add any more comments, any questions about any of the lines that we wrote or something like that. I want to make sure we could get those out.
Is the error that you made with the IP 0, the fact that it was 1 was saying that you're starting at 1 before it's even appeared, and then when it appeared, you added 1, so we were having one number too much?
Yeah. I was off by 1.
Is there a better?
First answer, yes, there's always a better, but yes, go on.
So would it be better in practice to find a better regular expression that would account for 0.0.0.0, or would you just
I think that's a good
if
point.
statement it out when dealing with the IP addresses?
I think that's a good question, and I don't have the best answer, right? It's a difficult question. And it's definitely one that I've thought of before of like, how do you write a regular expression, or how do you even write code that can validate an IP address? So the question, I think the heart of the question is, what's the best way to validate an IP address? And the two answers I have for you is either have is regular expression. Yeah, that's what I would think to go to first. I think there's a better regular expression that can account for that.
I posted in the Slack, but what I used is it can only get the 255 maximum and all that.
Okay, yeah, that's a better. It looks like a better. Yeah, I'm reading it now to see how it works. Kind of. Yeah, looks a little bit better. So that's one way. One thing you could do. That's probably would be my approach, is like find a good regex for IP address validation. That's a good question. It's hard, is the answer. Okay. Anyone questions on like writing code with code you don't have? Because I think that's the sometimes mind-blowing-ish thing to people that don't write a lot of code, is like, hey, we could push this make that a future map problem. You know what I'm saying? You kind of break your code into smaller bite-sized chunks that you've already solved before.
I've got like a question. So I did a different way.
Sure.
Do
Do you want to share? Do you want to share your code or no?
I can if you give me one quick second.
Sure.
Because no one comments on it. Because now I don't know if it's right. Give me one second.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing.
So right off the rip, there's gonna be a comment. I did it. I just did it in Windows, and I was just gonna change it like with import sys and all that stuff like later. But I was just doing like the bulk of it like in VS Code, like in Windows. So like I was just opening the file like that. But so I was using like a generator to like use like make like I was using like used search instead of like match. Wait, this is the wrong one. Wait, no, this is right.
Lambda functions.
Yeah. I didn't come up with that idea. I came up with that idea off of Google. So
Professor Google. Yeah.
And then
I also use Lambda. Never mind.
Great minds think alike. So
fine.
like I thought it worked,
Ooh,
but it
it's
doesn't
kind of
match.
close.
Yeah, it doesn't. The numbers don't match. But I was also matching it based on like when they failed the password attempt. Like I would take
That's
that
why
line.
you're
and
not going to
then-
get every IP that way.
Okay. But then
There's
my
go ahead. Go
other
ahead. Sorry.
other question was, can I use two like can I use like another like this wouldn't work, right? If I did like blah 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 and then like another comma, like that wouldn't like I couldn't.
I don't think so. So you want to search two separate strings? Is that it?
Yeah, so because on the other one, like the one that we just did, I pretty much copied the same thing, but I changed it up to work for like the source IP. But then I also need to grab the destination IP and like the ports. But I didn't know how to like use another search, like I guess I don't know what the word to use is, like expression value. I don't know. I don't know if it was possible to just like stack them like this or something, or would I just have to like
This would not be the approach I would take.
okay. All right.
I don't think that would work what you're trying. I don't think that is the way that works.
All right, so for the other like the other one, I should just try what you like the match.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the easiest way to match with regular expression.
Okay,
That at least that I'm familiar with. That's my most comfortable way.
gotcha. All right,
Cool.
stop. Mhm.
Okay.